Are we telling stories? Are we telling stories? Are you howling like a dog? Yeah. Uh-huh. And then what happened? Yeah. What else? Well, honestly, start from the beginning, even though, you know, it really wasn't hell in the beginning. My husband and I decided that we wanted to have another child, and it took 4 years of just nothing but doctors and trying, and then we went on fertility drugs. And we did 7 months of Clomid, and then we switched to a drug called letrozole, and that was Lucas. It was not even a month later I found out I was pregnant. My pregnancy went great. I knew when I was pregnant for his brother, I have what they call a short cervix. So with him, they kept a really close eye on me, measured my cervix, the whole 9. 20 weeks and 3 days, he was born. So we were 3 pounds, 8.4 ounces, very big for his age. He was born right at Glennsville's Hospital. They transferred him immediately to Albany Med. They brought Albany to him. He was admitted to the NICU on August 29th of 2020. He was not discharged until November 30th. So we spent 93 days in the NICU. Countless tubes, drains, wires, needles. He was doing really well at first. On September 6th, he ended up being what they call septic, and they couldn't figure out why. The doctor that we had, her name was Dr. Monica Brown. She had came in and said, I don't know what's wrong with him. I can tell you he's septic. It's in his blood. We will try to get down to the bottom of this and figure out what it is, and we'll figure out what antibiotic is best to try to fight this. He had to be re-intubated. I think that was the hardest part, was him being re-intubated. I felt like we were going backwards, not forwards. Finally, within 24 hours of him being septic, they figured out, after they ran blood work, a spinal tap, ultrasound, all kinds of things, that he had E. coli meningitis. So not only was it in his bloodstream, it was in his spinal fluid. That's when they had said, listen, you know, this is probably what's going to happen. They were preparing us for the worst of, he's not going to live. He's maybe going to have 6 hours. So we're talking August, September of 2020. COVID was hitting the world, and then we have a sick baby. So my husband and I are taking turns watching our child pretty much disintegrate. It was tough. They ran platelets, red blood cells, the whole 9, and somehow, some way, he fought it. But then we decided that we were going to catch infection number 2. And they were like, well, we don't think it's the same thing. We're pretty sure it went away. They did countless, spinal taps, every test imaginable to make sure it was gone. Well, it wasn't. It was the beginning of October. We thought meningitis number 2. When they were running the antibiotic, what they were doing was they took a culture of the spinal tap and split it up and took every antibiotic possible and waited to see if it would react. And one of them did. So they tried it. At that point, the second infection killed his ventricular space. So that's that little butterfly.
Explain what that is.
So
I know we talked about that, but
I can actually show you. All right. So this is my son's brain. This is the frontal view. So this is his nose. This is his last brain scan. His brain stem is right here. This is the back of his head. Your ventricular space would be right here, usually. All of this blackness is what they call cerebral spinal fluid. And so basically, the ventricular space became broken, and that's where all of your cerebral spinal fluid is controlled. And it runs through that little ventricular space down into your spine, and that's what keeps everything, flowing nicely for us. Unfortunately, once that broke from the second infection, he did have to have a shunt. So before he came home, he was infection-free, and he had a shunt placed. We came home November 30th.
Hello. Hi. Hi.
We had Christmas, and we were loving, everything.
What is this?
He was starting to babble. Starting to reach for things.
Hi.
He was pretty much a normal child at that point. And then, unfortunately, on January 12th, he just was not acting himself. He was vomiting. He acted like he kind of just was in a daze. And it was really, really obvious that it could be failure to the shunt from the symptoms that he was having and what they had told me to watch for. So I immediately called, and he ended up going via rescue squad from my home to Albany Med. When he went back in, they immediately tapped his shunt and pulled the fluid to see if it was infected or not.
it's like a spot or something. Super common.
You are we talking about you? I know your head got tired. Yeah, your head got tired. So anyway, we went back in January 12th. It was late. It was a really, really late night, early morning. He ended up having surgery January 13th to remove the shunt. They placed an outer drain to drain all of the cerebrospinal fluid. They did more antibiotic. They tried everything. They weren't really sure as to why it came back for a third time. He stayed in the hospital from January 12th to February 21st on the PICU floor at that time. And that is when we met his actual neurology. His name is Dr. Adamo. He is amazing. I can praise that man till I'm blue in the face. He did everything he could. Looked up different types of surgeries to help him we could get away with not placing a shunt right now and being able to bring him home. They said, we don't know how long he has, but I can tell you that there's still infection in there. We will do an ETV surgery, basically making a man-made hole in the center of his brain for gravity to take over, to drain that fluid. When we brought him home on February 21st, we started planning his funeral. Everybody came together to meet him, to be with us. I still, at that time, I knew that he was dying, and I grieved my son. I had his outfit, his casket, I had everything. 2 weeks later, my dad had came and saw him again, and he was like, he's not sick. And I said, what do you mean? And it was like, somehow the light just showed right back up. Something in his eyes changed. Something in his face changed. So we had him re-scanned. And sure enough, yes, he was missing 50 to 60% of his brain, but it looked like it was just clear fluid. May 28th, 2021, he graduated from hospice, and we started treating him like he was living and no longer dying. They told us he was never going to walk. He's never going to talk. He's never going to smile. He's never going to babble.
His legs, too. Didn't you say
Yes,
something that he
they
wasn't
said
ever
that
gonna be
he
able to move his legs?
would not have usage of his legs, that he wasn't going to be able to feel this or this. I have had more time than I was told. That's all that matters to me. This moving the head is new. We finally, I think, have gotten to a point where we have stretched those muscles with physical therapy, that he can maneuver his head.
We sat here one day. It was the first time that he did it, and I was sitting right there, and she's sitting here with them between her legs, and he just starts slowly moving his head up and up.
I was crying so bad. I was like, oh my God, he did it!
He just was sitting there holding it there. And
Yeah.
he did so good.
He's fun. He has such a big personality. He opened up my entire world. You look at this little boy and think, wow, life is kind of amazing because I know him. It's different. It's a different kind of love compared to any other feeling. And that's all I can really say is it's just pure love.
Where did Building on Love come in for you guys?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say it was the beginning of November, because it was right around the time when my husband had broken his leg. It was like, great.
Stop.
Now what? My husband's going to be out of work for 6 months. We're barely staying afloat, going back and forth to the NICU. And with a 93-day NICU stay and a 5-week PICU stay, and my husband being out of work, it was rough. One of his NICU nurses had said, listen, there's a social worker here that might help you. And that's when Jeff got a hold of me and said, hey, I can help you. And I mean, they did. Bills or groceries or anything we needed, gas. He helped us shovel our driveway because my husband was down and out. I had a baby here that, you know, needed more attention than a normal baby. So you guys helped more than you know, and not just because of the gas carts and the groceries and even just helping me shovel my driveway was enough for me. I mean, I'll admit that night I cried because it was like, I didn't know that strangers did this thing. You know, I didn't realize that there were decent people in this world. I couldn't.
When's the last time he made you belly laugh?
Oh gosh. So he gets into like these moods where he'll just laugh at nothing, which makes you laugh. And it's like, it'll be just dead silent, and, you know, you could just be having the worst day, and he'll just start, and then he'll, like, think it's funny that he's making that noise, so he'll laugh even harder. And it gets me laughing, and then he'll laugh because I'm laughing. It's like, no matter what mood you're in, you could look at this kid and just... everything goes away.
Boop. Eat it.
The 4 dots poking through in the back on
I
top.
know.
You getting molars.
See, that's why we go to dentists now.
To give me a steak, Ma.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Speaking of, that's probably what. Are you hungry?